first game of the night. We are in week 4, day number 3 of the North American Challenger League. I'm MalfusX and being joined here by Studio, and our first game is going to pit the sides of Napkins in Disguise going up against Velocity eSports. Studio seems to be dead at the moment. Hopefully we'll be able to get him revived very shortly. There we go.
There we go.
Magic word.
Let's check out these level 1s, Malfus. Let's see where the sides go. It looks like we have a good old-fashioned trade on both sides. Right now, Brunchy is scouting out Cris. Both sides kind of feel, all right, they probably just went to our jungle, and as a result, both sides have gotten the counter wards off. And NK Inc. and the rest of Velocity do reveal themselves, though, so actually going to be a dangerous position for InnoX. They will be safe. However, deep rewards were placed by the members of Napkins in Disguise.
So you see, InnoX, he started with that taser as well. I saw him spamming it out, but he was just using that to check brushes. They just want to be very, very careful because they know that if you face check an Annie, something very terrible is very, very likely to happen, like Gleebglarbu might find out here in a second. He's going to be able to walk away as Evaniskus doesn't want to commit to trying to use the flash to get the stun, as Gleebglarbu obviously could just easily flash away as well over the wall. But so a little bit of pressure there, a little bit of drama, but no action actually happening here for the level 1.
I actually really do like that decision from Evaniskus. It was probably going to be a safe escape for Gleebglarbu, and the flash early on is so much more important for Annie to hold on to, just because she has that surprise burst factor, where any second, you know, flash, incinerate, disintegrate, you're ignited, you're on fire, there's a good chance you'll die, and you'll die fast. And you mentioned the Electro Harpoon. That is also his #1 skill as the spam comes out from Rumble. Just because its early damage is higher than Flame Spitter, you can use it to CS from range. In a 1v2, it's safe. It's just a much more useful skill. Eventually, Flame Spitter does become his bread and butter, though.
Absolutely, yeah. So you see NK going to get a little help from Cris as he starts off on the red buff. ScubaChris, we taking down the blue buff pretty much solo. Gleebglarbu going to help out just enough to take away 5 of his gold, because that's just how he rolls on that little Fiddlesticks man.
That was actually scary. It looked like he almost took it for a second. Like, as the Dark Wind came out, the balance is just synced up properly. I heard the gold sound. Like, did he just take that blue buff? No, just a little guy.
Just a little guy. He's going to run up here. He's just going to... So they are going to go for the 2v1 here. They don't want to find out what happens when you pit Vayne Fiddlesticks against Annie and Lucian. That's just an absolutely terrifying amount of burst. And I think they're also just a little bit excited to see what will happen to Cris if he finds himself in a 2v1. In mid lane, Fragnatic and nubbypoohbear have both hit level 2, but nubbypoohbear gets a good root down where Fragnatic can't do anything about the plant and just takes so many auto attacks from the plant. He's already down below half health. Gonna have to start potting up with that gorgeous new health potion animation.
I really do like what Fragnatic, or not Fragnatic, but nubbypoohbear is doing. He actually went for level 1 in the root from Zyra instead of the nuke. Most people will get Deadly Bloom at level 1, especially as a support, just for harass. But because he has so much AP and actually aggression in the bot lane.
Yeah, we see ScubaChris getting taken out quite low as he's just trying to help InnoX get this farm down. We see the passions from Lucian getting so much damage down. InnoX going to be able to body block and be able to get himself back out of there. But just like that, ScubaChris losing a ton of damage. He's not going to be able to stick around and continue to support InnoX.
Question is, did he do that just to go ahead and make the lane safer for InnoX? InnoX now, even though he doesn't have that support, the Ignite is down on Annie, and it was a brief moment to push out and get some CS and get some experience. Like, as odd as it was, it might be worth the trade of him going back to base if it forces Evaniskus to burn that Ignite and no longer have as much kill potential on InnoX underneath the turret.
Well, now I'm actually feeling kind of nervous because on my, I don't know, like okay. For anyone who doesn't know, I just had to restart or like reinstall everything on my computer. I still see Annie as having her Ignite up, and I just want to check and make sure that I'm not seeing bad summoner information. Is her Ignite down?
Her Ignite is down. She used it in that last engage.
Okay, all right, that's just a bug on my spectator client then. But yeah, so the other side of that is that, you know, Evaniskus will now have +5 AD as you see more aggression onto InnoX here. ScubaChris, though, just coming back from base, is going to go right back at it from Maple Street, taking a lot of damage here. ScubaChris trying to chase him back out of lane. The Ignite goes down. Here's a teleport coming in as well from Maple Street. Pops the barrier. Cris is here. InnoX having to turn around, gets stunned up by Evaniskus. InnoX going to try to flash away. Can Cris follow? Cris still has the flash available. There's going to be the E coming out. There's the flash forward from Evaniskus. Auto attacks down. Not enough. From Maple Street, rather, going to pick up first blood over the wall. ScubaChris now has to get himself back out of this one. Will be able to do so, but just like that, from Maple Street tags it down. ScubaChris going back in, has to burn the flash, as he did not accurately assess the damage coming out from Lissandra and Annie.
Ardent Blaze, of course, one of the few skill shots, unlike, for example, a Corky Rocket where it reaches its max length, it does blow up in Maple Street using that to maximum range to pick off InnoX right there. Actually, right now, aggression in the mid lane, nubbypoohbear in a lot of danger.
nubbypoohbear so very, very low with Fragnatic, taking so many attacks from the plants as well. He's going to go down! So much damage from Zyra's little helpers.
Of course, nubbypoohbear with a good flash, getting out of the scary auto attacks from Gragas. Of course, Gragas with a drunken rage has incredibly high AD at this point in the game, and that was good bait. He got him into the plants. The body slam was down, the flash was available, but he just underestimated the damage coming out from those plants. Zyra plants are not about initial burst necessarily, it's all about the sustained damage. And Fragnatic just thought, alright, I should be able to walk out of this. I should be fine. I'm a Gragas, relatively tanky. I got Drunken Rage. It still was not quite enough though. That is something cool about picking a character like Zyra, just sort of an offbeat mid laner, because you can just catch people by surprise there. If Fragnatic had played this matchup, you know, one time before, he might have been able to predict just how much damage came out. But instead, nubbypoohbear, he's got the knowledge advantage, and that's a huge thing to have in a matchup like mid.
And it's also a very, very difficult situation. Because he is a melee range champion, there's not a whole lot of solutions he has other than just actually using spells and auto attacks to kill those plants. nubbypoohbear is going to be able to consistently apply that harass, and if there's a plant active, he either has to tank it or walk away from the CS and not pick up the farm.
Well, he's Gragas, so he has the advantage of those barrel rolls just being one of the best farming skills in the game. Chris going to take some damage top lane, should be safe though. Oh, that Vayne.
So much poke coming out there.
Vayne damage.
Both Brock just absolutely annihilating him as he's sticking back around. Does have a crystalline flask and 4 more health potions. So as long as he doesn't fall down anytime soon, he's going to be able to get himself back into this one. There's the flash. Fear coming out from Gleebglarbu. Brunch, you going to flash forward as well. The E comes out from Cris in the direction of actually dealing some damage rather than using for an escape. NK Inc. in the area going to get a lot of hurt back down onto this one. Brunch, you considering going back in on this one. There's the exhaust on the NK Inc. Cris trying to get in range to help out, but knows that if he gets within range of one tumble, he's going to fall.
You do have nubbypoohbear chasing down Fragnatic, coming from mid to top. Fragnatic a bit faster though, and of course Gleebglarbu have to get out of there right now. They're going for the dive though. Fragnatic, he's now pincered in, but he also is Gragas. He has the ult. Can he pick it up?
Oh, beautiful long-range explosive cast there. Now Fragnatic needs to get back up. nubbypoohbear body blocking him over there for the body slam. The flash comes out. NK Inc. gonna actually go back into this one. Cris comes in over the wall, gets the root down. nubbypoohbear is gonna fall. Yeah, NK Inc. gonna be the one to pick up that kill. The passive comes out, not quite enough to clean up Cris, taking him very, very low. And down in the bottom lane, we see from MapleStreet and Evaniskus continuing their reign of terror.
Right, ScubaChris trying to hold it, but just that is the power of a Gragas. You very rarely see 2 mid laners chase like that. But because Fragnatic, he's got the mobility from Body Slam, he's just that much faster, was able to get to the fight first, toss out that cast, and rest in peace, Vayne. And I do love nubbypoohbear. He had such a good play. He blocked the Body Slam from Gragas. He was able to prevent that Body Slam initiation, or actually escape. And actually, InnoX in danger in the bot lane now.
InnoX getting stunned of so much damage. There's the Ignite from Andy coming out from MapleStreet. Not going to be able to get the last auto attack. Evaniskus is going to be the one to pick that one up. Now ScubaChris on the run from MapleStreet. Going to just about take him out. There's the passive result. No, cannot get the last auto attack as ScubaChris is just barely able to safeguard himself out of range.
I gotta say, I think what we saw mid lane is happening bot lane. They just do not know the damage that can come out of Lucian, especially in this early part of the game. He is a popular pick in Korea. He was a popular pick in China. The reason is because early on, especially once he picks up just his first item, he deals incredibly high output. His passive, the extra attack from Lightslinger, it's not the biggest burst on its own, but you factor in the rest of his skills and how often he can get that skill to proc, and his damage it's crazy right now. Necessarily won't scale to be the highest number possible. We've seen Lucian's fall in the late game before, but this is a scary situation to be in if you're Napkins in disguise. They're behind by 3,000 gold. The lanes they're up against can snowball quite a bit. Vi, if she starts getting reliable ganks off, she will keep getting those ganks off. Top lane, for example, Gleebglarbu, he'll have his fear to try and keep himself alive, but if there's any backup from NK, from Cris or from Fragnatic, Gleebglarbu will not survive a Vi ultimate.
So you see NK picking himself up another set of double buffs. He's just been roaming around here. He does have a kill. I mean, he is feeling pretty strong on this one. If he finds himself 1v1 against ScubaChris, you have to give the advantage to that over to NK Inc. At this point of the game. But we see Fragnatic. You know, he's got himself a blue buff as well. Hanging around, people up near the top lane. Evaniskus looks like he wants to start with the roam, as they have been able to take away one of those towers. Start heading down here.
It's also going to be difficult for InnoX to go for a full kill from MapleStreet. They can easily have him 1v1 at this point. In terms of experience, they're on the same level, and when it comes to farm, MapleStreet's already got a BF sword. And Rumble, if someone can out DPS him in a straight up brawl, which is the case with Lucian having that BF sword, you just can't deal with the fight. He can't really poke in at this point, because the sustain is also higher. Actually, engaging with a flash.
InnoX knows that he's in trouble. He's trying to run away from this one. He did flash, but it was actually the Q used by Evaniskus there to get the lockup. There's the explosive cast to put InnoX into the wall from MapleStreet. Gonna pick up that kill as Fragnatic secures a roam from the mid lane.
All right, the culling is such a difficult skill to use to line properly, and MapleStreet just had him on point. I think he missed one shot from the culling, Lucian's ultimate, before it finally killed InnoX. InnoX, he's in a position where as Rumble, he is a good 1v2 champion, but he's too far behind. He can't survive any sort of initiation. If you look at his items, he's got nothing. Cris doesn't have much either, but right now, InnoX has less than nothing. Just a little bit of HP is not going to keep him alive in that bot lane.
And also, you know, they did take down that tower as well, so he has this long lane where he's susceptible to roams from Fragnatic. I mean, Gragas is such a mobile champion that he can cause so many problems for him. If he gets locked up like that by Annie or from MapleStreet coming in and getting the extra move speed down, I mean, he's just going to have so many difficulties with that one. We see Velocity do grab themselves up a dragon. They are pretty dominantly in control of this one, as the lead is about 4,000 gold thus far at the 11-minute mark. That's pretty terrifying for Napkins in Disguise to deal with. Do you think that their late game scaling is high enough that they will be able to recover from this one?
I mean, it's high. It is a powerful late game team. Rumble, Vayne, Zyra, a really good defensive combination. The new factor in the Fidlestick sphere. It's solid, but they've lost so much of the map. They need to kill Cris right now, for example, but here comes Evaniskus.
Evaniskus is going to get the stun down on the Gleebglarbu. The fear goes down on Cris in time. See, Axel, considering going into this one, Gleebglarbu is going to give up his life to see if he can buy time for Brunchu. Not going to be able to see Assault and Battery coming back in. Axel trying to get himself away from this one. ScubaChris body blocking, using as many slows as he can. Not going to be enough. Double kill goes down now for Cris. ScubaChris going to have to turn away from this one. NK ain't going to get the Vault Breaker. There's the auto attack. Can he finish him off? No. ScubaChris just barely going to be able to flash himself away from this one. But nonetheless, we find ourselves in a situation where Velocity eSports have control of the map.
This is going to end up so poorly because they have InnoX split pushing bottom. nubbypoohbear now trying to defend. He has a lot of damage, but he's also very squishy.
Taking so much damage, ScubaChris going to come back in from the other side, using the War Chip to get away from this one. ScubaChris going to pick up a kill onto NK Inc. Then Fragnatic will be credited one onto ScubaChris. That barrel will not land. nubbypoohbear just barely juking it out. Now we see the TP down in the bottom lane. InnoX almost certainly even going to fall down. From MapleStreet going to pick that one up. As just once again, Velocity Esports making plays happen all across the map.
I was going to say that they had a good chance for InnoX to try and split push bottom, but Cris had the teleport up, and that was so well executed. Cris had no HP to stay in the fight, had to go back to base. What happens? Just immediately trades, goes back to base, heals up, and the gank spot lane in response. And just looking across the board, the kills are evenly distributed too for Velocity. They're playing well as a team, they're playing in a very organized fashion. A lot of this is the map movement. Like, it's scary to put a Vayne against an early game champion like Lucian, but the problem is, they didn't rotate bottom on the side of Napkins in Disguise, which meant that Dragon was open. InnoX was just in such a dangerous position because the second a gank was successful on that lane, it meant an instant Dragon for Velocity. And as a result, that's why they start pressuring him so much, because the swap didn't happen. They could easily pick up that Dragon. And ScubaChris takes a ton of burst in the mid lane.
But he's going to continue on to Cris. He's going to immediately regret that decision. Will be able to ward jump himself away for the other side of the explosive cast. That barrel, though, will land. Fragnatic picking up the kill at long range.
Got them barrel stamps, the barrel roll, of course, one of the longest range pokes in the game. It's incredibly hard to deal with as a base skill, especially if you can't see it coming. Like, that might have been a chance for ScubaChris to juke to the side, but without that vision, and of course just the amazing range on barrel roll, it's so hard to predict that. Now mid turret's being pushed. ScubaChris, he's 1-2, he's behind his Lucian. The entire team is just so far behind right now. Fragnatic level 10, nubbypoohbear level 10 to match that up, but I mean, it's a Zyra with nothing but a Haunting Guise versus the Athene's already finished on Fragnatic.
See in the mid lane, they're trying to apply a little pressure to the tower, but a combination of Zyra and Rumble will be able to keep them away from that one. And now we do find ourselves in that matchup that Napkins in Disguise didn't want to find. They didn't want to find Vayne Fiddlesticks going 2v2 against Annie and Lucian just because of the ridiculous amount of burst damage. And you see from MapleStreet, at this point, is so far ahead. He's just chunking Brunchu down every time Brunchu comes up for CS. MapleStreet with the completed Bloodthirster to just the Bilgewater Cutlass here for Brunch.
Brunch has to dodge every single Q from Lucian with the tumble or just walking out of it. If he does not, like, he's going to get poked down in lane. And the problem here is that, you're right, it's not just a normal 2v2. This isn't level 1. This is level 9. This is Brunch so far behind compared to for MapleStreet. MapleStreet, he's just going to go for pokes, occasional burst, and just look how well he trades versus Brunch.
Gleebglarbu going for the flash fear. We see the stun Timbers coming back up, but it actually doesn't stun Brunchu. He's coming out. There's the ultimate coming out as well from MapleStreet. Will focus down the kill onto Brunchu. He'll fall down. Now we see Fidlestick getting the counter kill back down. Timbers just needs one more auto attack. No, Evaniskus could get it, but it looks like they might give this one over to NKing because he has arrived. And
he walked into Timbers.
Gleebglarbu walks into Timbers' immolation range. Not even sure if Timbers auto attacked that one, but in either case, Evaniskus is going to be able to pick up his second kill of the game.
I mean, if you're going to go down, hugging the Flaming Bear, not a bad idea. Fragnatic in danger in the mid lane, though.
Fragnatic in so much trouble. We see there's the ultimate, but here comes Cris from the side. Cris going to try to lock them back up. The shutdown goes down first to nubbypoohbear as he cleans up the kill on the Fragnatic. Now Cris hanging around here, playing the gardener, cleaning up as many of those plants as he can. And ScubaChris going to be able to get himself back out.
I mean, an even 1-for-1, unfortunately, it was nubbypoohbear dying, and because of that, it's not as big a win. It's actually ScubaChris going to take a bit of damage. InnoX there to back him up. Can they kill him?
As the ultimate, the equalizer will be able to take down Cris. He cannot get himself off of that AoE, and InnoX just a sniper with that equalizer.
There we go. They got to go for the pickoffs. They just do not have what it takes to come close to a team fight, come close to a laning fight at this point. If we get, kind of musket men on both sides, everybody lined up, ready in position, it's just going to be a decimation in favor of Velocity. So at this point, their best bet is send ScubaChris to just try and get ganks off, possibly send InnoX as well, if he's too far pushed in whatever lane he's in, still bot right now, and just roam and try and get those quick fights. They cannot win a lane fight just with the damage from MapleStreet, from MapleStreet. And the current tankiness and burst from both Vi and Gragas. But if they can kill a Gragas in a 1v2, they can kill Cris in a 2v1. Like, they can definitely pick off members of Velocity. However, Dragon is up soon, up at about 5 seconds. Napkins and Disguise know this. They don't want to give up this objective, but this is incredibly dangerous for them to fight.
It's so rough because of how much initiation and dispersion there is on this side, right? If they get locked up by a stun Timbers, or if Fragnatic comes forward with a body slam that blows somebody into the team with the explosive cast, then they have, Vi who can lock that target up. They have Lissandra who can lock that target up. Annie can lock that target up. And they can just, and there's so much burst damage as well. I mean, all these things, it's not just the CC. Annie is starting to fall out of the phase where her burst damage is really, really noticeable because she's not building ability power. But it's still, it's still potent, it's still something, it's still there. Fragnatic is starting to get pretty terrifying as he's got the Athene 10 and needlessly large rod. Cris has completed the DFG, so if he decides that he wants to take a target down and he's with the rest of his team, then Annie and the Gragas are going to be dealing all that much more damage.
Right now, Fragnatic is at that point. He might be one auto attack short, but I'm pretty sure with just his skill set. Actually, going on to Evaniskus, going for this pick. They need this.
Evaniskus is going to flash away from this one, trying to draw this team fight out, trying to spread them back out. There's the explosive cast, only connecting on the two. The calling coming out from Lucian, not really going to get a whole lot done, but it will convince them to disengage from this one. InnoX is going to take one last parting barrel, and he's going to be able to get himself back out of this one. So a team fight narrowly avoided.
Narrowly avoided, but they're still applying pressure. This is not a good situation for Napkins in Disguise. They don't have explosive cask up on Gragas for Velocity. That's great for them, but the issue they're running into now is that explosive cask has a short cooldown. So they're all low because of that earlier engagement. nubbypoohbear low on mana, which is the big issue right now. Because even if there's an aggressive dive from Velocity, nubbypoohbear with the amount of mana he has right now can't really punish it.
Cris trying to get the assassination onto Gleebglarbu, but he walks into the fear. There's the silence as well. He's going to just barely be able to frozen tomb down in time. InnoX has to flash away from this one. nubbypoohbear is going to be the one to pick up the kill onto Cris as he comes back out of the frozen tomb. But in either case, Cris did buy them enough space for Velocity to be able to take down the tower without any further reply.
The advantage there is that because Cris has level 12 and most of the members of Napkins in Disguise are below that, they do get increased experience. So an okay trade experience-wise, gold of course benefiting Velocity more, with towers being worth a tiny bit more. That was an aggressive dive. That was like a silly play from Cris, but at the same time, that's the position Velocity's in. They can go for the over-aggressive, overzealous dive where Lissandra's all of a sudden trying to 1v1 or 1v4 the entire enemy team to burst on a Fiddlesticks. But if there's any sort of backup, like InnoX almost died, he survived by about 10 HP. There's just so much burst and so much follow-up that someone can be cut out of position, and the rest of the team has enough damage to deal with that. ScubaChris is forced to retreat.
Evaniskus has the boost of mobility. Once to get in range for the stun, will not be able to do so. Throws down the ward instead. As Velocity are taking complete control of the jungle out of Napkins in Disguise right now. We see pink wards going down all over the place. This is kind of the reason why we're going to be seeing that change coming out. Is there's just it's just so viable to completely dominate vision all over the map with vision wards, and we see now the Bloodthirster and the Static Shiv are now done for MapleStreet. He is terrifying.
Of course, Static Shiv does help his ultimate a tiny bit. The culling does benefit from attack speed. It's an interesting skill. a lot of people just kind of don't like because it's not necessarily a great burst skill, but it's an interesting finisher and is a very high damage kit already. Now, 8,000 gold lead for Velocity. They're pushing down the turrets. They need to keep up this pressure, keep up this aggression. Still, there's always that chance for a pick-off. Like ScubaChris in that last fight when they picked off Cris. Too many Chris's in this game, by the way. He was able to get a good kick, keep Cris out of position, keep him from getting to safety. That's an issue because everybody on Velocity is fairly mobile except for Evaniskus. ScubaChris is now in a ton of danger.
Oh, we see Pragmatic tries to actually figure out exactly where he's going to go. He tries to predict the damage. Will not be able to get that done, but it doesn't matter. So much lockup and damage coming out from the two of them there. They do pick up the kill onto the roaming ScubaChris, and they apply that pressure onto the tower. We see Brunchy going to try to open up onto the supports. It's going to be the opposing support that falls down from Maple Street with Evaniskus going to be able to burst down the Fidlesticks, and just like that, Velocity eSports, they regain control of the map, and they are in a position to push down this tower.
My fair Gleebglarbu. Bear tanking the turret, going to take it down relatively quickly. If they want to defend, they have to defend right now. Initiation coming forward from Cris, possibly. But he will be able to back on out. Taking the turret, staying safe. This is...
I was just saying, that's one of those mind games that you can play with Lissandra. It's kind of similar, like you can use the Gragas ultimate to just push people back. You can also just throw the Frozen Claw forward and say, I'm coming in at you, I'm going to stun the carry, and then everyone's like, okay, back up, and okay, we just bought space for Lucian to push down the tower.
That is such a nice little benefit of Lissandra. Like you said, you got the mind games, you got the trickery, the skullduggery, everything available. In the case of Cris, he actually probably wants to ult himself. Normally, you would burst down the carry, but just because they're so far ahead, it doesn't really matter if he's not bursting down the carry. Because right now, Brunchy has finished with the Rune King. That's when Vayne normally picks up. But compared to from Maple Street, who has, let's see, Bloodthirster, the Static Shift, and a pickaxe, and is getting quite into the late game. Already almost picking up a Last Whisper, I believe. This is just not relevant. All right, you got Blade of the Rune King on Vayne. That does not matter in this case. It's a 10,000 gold lead. Velocity that's in control. This is something that when you see them play like this, it's very hard to deal with. They have to feel comfortable. They have to feel confident, and as long as they don't get overconfident with an aggressive dive, like Velocity can play like clockwork. It's just they had some other issues. I think coming into NACL, it's really kind of been hindering them. This would be their second week in a row though where they've gotten a win. And compare this to the first 2 weeks of the tournament, where I believe the score was about 0-8 or 0-9. This is not a bad situation for them. They're starting to pick up wins. They're starting to gain their momentum in the NACL.
So we see Pragmatic.
The explosive cast for harass. I like it.
Yeah, I mean, he's got a blue buff. The cooldown is low enough. He's got the mana regeneration that he needs between the Rabadon's Death Cap and the Athene's Unholy Grail. He's got quite a bit of damage output as well. So yeah, you can just send a message or two here or there.
I'll set sucker out. If you get someone in a good position, yeah, kill him. If not, now bot lane's being pressured. Nubby too shoot a lot lower than they would be if they hadn't gotten hit in the face by a barrel. That's just silly aggressive play, but that's kind of pragmatic. It's like, why not toss out the extra damage? It's an ultimate, yeah, but it's a minute cooldown.
Not too bad, not too bad. And right now, the most important thing for Velocity is still maintaining pressure on these towers and being able to take those down. See, they're just pushing the lanes over. They're not allowing them, not allowing opportunities. Excuse me, for the side of Napkins in Disguise to really get any safe farm whatsoever, unless they're just standing under their tower. So then there's a chance that they're going to miss CS. They have to pool CS. They can't necessarily, just sit and funnel that farm onto Brunch. Which is where they desperately need it right now. And more importantly, they just maintain control of the map, which opens up all these other objectives. They can go to steal away the opposing buffs. They can go to the dragons and pick those up. And there's really no opportunity for Napkins in Disguise to contest this.
And of course, Napkins in Disguise, if they are grouped underneath the turret trying to defend it, which is a good possibility of a team fight, which with Gragas, Lissandra, Annie, Vi, and of course Lucian at this point in the game, a team fight, even if it was even gold, would be a huge deal and benefit for Velocity. But imagine a team fight right now, they're ahead by 11,000 gold. Well, you saw how much damage that explosive cast did to 3 members. Imagine that damage on 5 members, and with the actual follow-up from a barrel roll, a body slam, and ignite, and the rest of Velocity's lineup. I think damage-wise, Pragmatic and Evaniskus could almost take out like 3 or 4 members of Napkins in Disguise at this point. But then even with the extra CC from Vi, with the extra damage from Cris, and of course from Maple Street, who is just burst yells all hell right now. This is Napkins in Disguise. They gotta make a big play. They gotta do something huge. They gotta do something huge fast.
Yeah, I was kind of wondering if the side of Velocity, if they were just waiting for frommaplestreet to pick up that last whisper before they tried to force the issue. He continues to just sit down in the bottom lane, continuing to split push, getting as much farm as possible. It looks like he'll be able to take down this tower as nubbypoohbear going to get engaged upon here by Fragmatic. Fragmatic going to take the Sonic Wave. There's NKing going back in, trying to finish out the kill, and nubbypoohbear will not be able to do so. Gets condemned into the wall. Will be able to get himself back out as Evaniskus runs forward here as the Annie, trying to be the hero support. Will be able to flash himself away from this one. ScubaChris still trying to pick up this kill. Here comes from MapleStreet. ScubaChris going to have to get away. There comes Lissandra over the wall. DFG down. ScubaChris almost certainly going to fall. Flashes away. Going to be able to get the safeguard out over the wall. He will be able to get himself out of range on this one. Evaniskus going to get the timbers down the Gleebglarbu. Gleebglarbu so much damage. The Ignite is ticking as well. Will it finish him off? Brunch picks up the kill on Evaniskus. Evaniskus does get the Ignite kill on the Gleebglarbu. And at the end of all this action, only the supports fall.
The supports fall, and it was really just supports killing supports at the end right there. They almost picked up Fragmatic. It was one crow away. Unfortunately, the Dark Wind did not bounce to the minion wave, and that last bounce just kept Fragmatic alive, barely. That was a good fight. That was a really good fight for Napkins in Disguise. It's just they don't have the numbers. nubbypoohbear doesn't have a Rabadon's Death Cap finish. Had he had that completed, Fragmatic would have gone down much earlier. They could have gone 2 for 1. But in the end, despite the mobility, despite how well they played defensively after the fight turned to Rise, now NK Inc. in a little bit of danger, but just going to be able to escape fairly easily.
ScubaChris would have loved to get to the other side of NK Inc. for that one to cancel the Vault Breaker. Would have loved to be able to block that.
I kind of wonder if he would, because that meant they would be fighting, which meant that they probably weren't in a good position. Cris actually was there to back him up, and nubbypoohbear without the ultimate does like a lot of damage. It's actually really important to get the ultimate onto Sprouted Plants just for the attack speed bonus. Now InnoX and ScubaChris up topside. There's an Annie and a Gragas coming to go meet them. Coming to say hi, show him a bear, show him some wine. Let's see if they can actually just walk on out of this though.
Evaniskus got the boots mobility. There's the slow coming down. Fragmatic comes in from the other side. ScubaChris going to use the Dragon's Rage to push him away. Going to push him right back into Annie. ScubaChris going to safeguard back out to the ward that he's just dropped. ScubaChris going to take the barrel. Will he fall down to this one? Fragmatic just needs one more body slam. That will land. Fragmatic going to be able to pick that up. Here comes the Zyra ult, but they do have one plant auto-attacking, but it's not getting a whole lot of damage. Oh, there's the equalizer coming down. InnoX going to be able to blow him to pieces, and just like that, they trade 1 for 1.
Alright, Brunch bot lane, he's 1v1ing MapleStreet underneath his own inhibitor turret. Does have the backup of NK Inc. from MapleStreet though, so a 2v1 at the opponent's inhibitor turret. Not a good situation to be at Napkins in Disguise. InnoX now being initiated on top side.
InnoX taking so many stuns, so much damage, going to flash himself away from this one. Gets locked up again and again and again, but will be able to get himself out of this one, as the combination of Scrap Shield plus the Negatron Glow going to be just enough to mitigate all that magic damage.
I mean, this is Tanky Rumble. Unfortunately, Tanky Rumble doesn't provide that much utility. He's got the setup from his ultimate, but he doesn't have as much damage as he possibly could. He's actually not tanky enough to really survive against the enemy team. Like, he survived Lissandra and support Annie. And if you look at Chris's build, it's more defensive than offensive. You go for the early DFG, but then you build into his Zonias. It's the safety build where if needed, Cris can survive for about 5 seconds with invincibility. However, he's barely surviving that combo of a support and a tanky AP carry. That's not the position you want to be in his Rumble. Unfortunately, he's going to be there to pop down his ultimate, and then he either goes in, does some damage, some relevant damage, but not a huge amount, and dies, or he kites with Electro Harpoon and hopes his team can back him up and carry him, essentially. It's a dangerous position to be as Rumble. This is the problem. They're so far behind on some champions that need to be either equal or ahead. Like Rumble, Lee Sin right now just not tanky enough to do anything but really survive. Like, ScubaChris has had great escapes, he might need to make one right now, but that's all he's been able to really do for the most part, escape.
As you see, he does make an escape from what's left of the wolf camp there, as he massacres them in the jungle and then flees the scene of the crime before anyone can spot him and arrest him appropriately. Looking for that, what is it, the Officer Vi scan that just came out?
Officer Vi, he just doesn't have the permit to be hunting wolves like that. It's out of season, man. It's out of season.
But in any case, Supp in the top lane, nubbypoohbear going to show up as he and InnoX just try to keep this one alive. At this point, Velocity have really dialed back on the aggression. I mean, they're still applying pressure. They know that they're still quite ahead, up 5 towers to none. I'm pretty sure they've taken every dragon as well. It's been an uphill climb thus far for Napkins in Disguise, and they're just going in on this Baron as they feel that they have the map control that they need to take this down. They use the Timbers to tank it up. There is the kill. Just like that, they have so much damage. ScubaChris going to find himself on the wrong side of this one. He gets blown to pieces by the entire lineup of Velocity. For MapleStreet going to be the one to take that down, and now we see Velocity. They have map control, they have the 4v5 advantage, and they have the Baron buff. They're pushing in towards the mid lane.
This mid inhibitor turret, not gonna last long. There is a chance for nubbypoohbear to try and get a good defense out. He's just so low on HP and mana though. The home guard boots come out. If they want to defend, they have now. This is their only chance to really defend against this.
You see, they might try to get something done here. Gleebglarbu going to get the fear off as he takes so much damage. InnoX, once again, with a lovely equalizer, not quite going to be able to pick up the kill as Gragas uses the flash to get away, but NK not going to be so lucky. Brunch, you're going to be the one to pick up that kill as the equalizer just locked NK up inside of the base.
And Fragnatic, of course, barely surviving with that flash. Cris pushing topside. And I have to say, the culling completely destroyed by plants. Zyra put her plants up from Maple Street, tried to use a culling. Because that's not an auto attack, it's actually a spell. Those plants were taking reduced damage, and I think because it was an area effect, AOE, the damage from the culling was reduced more because plants take reduced damage unless it's a single target spell. So those plants were taking 6 shots from the culling, and got Cris in a lot of danger.
Cris can be able to flash himself away from this one, gets the slowdown under Brunch, will be able to back himself away from this one. See, pills back out under the tower, and I mean, I'm looking for Napkins in Disguise to take a tower. Like, they need some form of global objective that they just have not been able to find thus far.
They need something. I believe they haven't gotten any dragons, any barons, 0 turrets. They've got nothing. They've gotten 0 objectives besides buffs and some of the jungle camps. And that's not cutting at this point. It's 18,000 gold. I actually had to double check my math there. 18,000 gold in favor of Velocity. That's one of the biggest leads we've seen so far. They're just so far behind. I don't know what they could do. Like, pickoffs aren't really working either. Fragnatic able to survive some of these engagements. He almost has Zonias himself. Like, the killable members, which would be the non-tanky guys like Evaniskus, Cris. Actually, it's really only Evaniskus from Maple Street, and Gragas can be taken down, but Gragas is mobile, almost as Zonia's. Maple Street has a Quicksilver Sash and Evaniskus. He's got Ashura's Reverie, which as a support is like one of the most expensive items you could ever possibly hope to purchase.
So you have Evaniskus stepping forward here from Maple Street, getting the double auto attack down on the inhibitor. They want to try to just take pot shots on this one, poke it down without allowing the initiation here from the side of Napkins in Disguise. NK Inc. taking a lot of damage here from that plant as well as getting slowed up on that one. But they will be able to step forward once again from Maple Street. He'll be the one trying to run the front as he does have the Bloodthirster to get himself back to good. If he takes a little bit of poke damage from the outside here. Once again, they just clean it up. He continues using spells whenever he has the opportunity so he can get the double auto attack down. They will be able to clean the inhibitor, and Velocity look content to just walk out of the base.
The same push. They played it safely. They never had Maple Street go too far forward. No one ever went too far aggressively.
Ooh.
Hey, they got one!
Blue team creeps, they got one!
Yeah!
We did it!
They're equal, and like they've equalized the gold a bit more. They lost an inhibitor, but that's only 50 gold versus the 750 they got for that top turret. Hell yeah! Unfortunately, Cris is going to push back that wave, so they won't be getting any more turrets off that, and Cris does have teleport available, so if needed, he can be bought in a jiffy. Now, that bot turret being pressured again is going to be the same style of a push, with Maple Street just kind of being a bit forward, going for occasional pokes. They're looking for a little bit of aggression, trying to eventually work their way into the base, especially when super creeps start pressuring mid lane.
So once again, we see, and right now, I mean, the split push threat is so strong, right? Because Lissandra can just clear the creeps out very, very quickly, and is very, very difficult to lock down because of her ability to go immune twice and then use the Frozen Claw to get herself back out of danger. I mean, there's that going for them. They have super creeps pushing in the mid lane. It doesn't hurt that there's a large drunk rabble rouser pushing creeps in along with it, and the rest of the side has such strong disengage that they feel confident just stepping forward here and trying to poke this down. They know that they've got Napkins in the side so spread out. Gleebglarbu are going to take the ultimate, taking down below half health, but once again it's just trying to buy space. The flash root comes out from nubbypoohbear, will not land on it from Maple Street. He's able to just use the E to get himself away from that one. And just like that, Velocity will continue to maintain total control of this one. Pushing back in. They want to just take this tower down now. NK ain't going to face tank it out. ScubaChris goes back in in front of Evaniskus. The tower doesn't quite fall down yet. The kick goes down. Evaniskus is going to be the sacrificial lamb. He goes into the tower. Fragnatic comes back in from the side. He will be able to pick up the kill on the tower. We see the calling comes out from Maple Street. Will be good to pick up the kill onto ScubaChris right now. Here's the equalizer as well from Maple Street. Going to use the E to get himself off of it. Put some auto attacks down. The exhaust goes down from Maple Street. We see Cris getting forward here. Can he use the burst? Yes, he can. Front shoe taken down to almost nothing from MapleStreet, picking up that kill. Grabs up the double kill as he steps forward and takes down Gleebglarbu as well. And it looks like Velocity are going to be poised to take this one down. They grab the inhibitor and they will maybe vacate the base. They're trying to make their decisions here. 7-4. They've got creeps coming in. There's the explosive cast, going to actually push InnoX away rather than pushing him into the middle of the team. InnoX going to do everything he can to try to keep these towers alive. There's the root coming out onto InnoX. There's the burst from MapleStreet. NK ain't going to pick up that kill. They grab the second Nexus tower, and with 5 seconds until ScubaChris will even respawn, this is going to be the game going to Velocity.
Velocity just very, very in control of this game since the very beginning. Since that first engagement, topside, where Gleebglarbu was forced out of his own river. That's been the game. Just Velocity controlling the map, controlling the fights, in lane, in jungle, in push, in team. Very, very well played by them. Just a well-oiled, greased machine.
All right, guys, so that's it for game number 1 of the night. Going over to Velocity eSports. We're going to take a quick break. Going to have a few minutes. When we come back,